2-1 coordinate plane. We're going to find the intersection of two lines. We're going to find the length of a line segment, or points, or distance between 2 points. We're going to find coordinates of the midpoint of a segment. Coordinates of a point is an ordered pair of numbers that are associated with a point x, comma, y. To set up the coordinate system, we have an x-axis, which is your horizontal axis. We have a y-axis, which is your vertical axis. Where they intersect is the origin, and the x and y axis divide the plane into 4 quadrants. The first quadrant, the second quadrant, the third quadrant, and the fourth quadrant. And that is called the coordinate plane, or the Cartesian coordinate system, or Cartesian plane. Distance formula and midpoint formula. The distance formula, if you have a point A, which is x sub 1, y sub 1, and a point B that is x sub 2, y sub 2, the distance formula is the square root of the quantity x sub 2 minus x sub 1, quantity squared, plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1, quantity squared. Or, if you want, you could do this. You can switch those. It doesn't matter if you do x sub 1 minus x sub 2 or x sub 2 minus x sub 1, because you're squaring it. So you could do that if you want. Same thing. Okay? The midpoint, you take the first coordinate of the midpoint, you take the sum of your x coordinates and divide by 2. The second coordinate, take the sum of your y's and divide it by 2. So it's basically the average of the two numbers. And really, this right here is the Pythagorean Theorem. And let me show you why with the graph. I have a point, negative 1, 9. Negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have a point right there. I have a point, 4, negative 3. Okay? Let's say I want to find the distance between those two. Well, let me just show you what I could do here. If I draw a triangle, you know that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, right? You know that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. And a, if this point right here, the first point, is negative 1, 9, and the second point was 4, negative 3, this distance here is the difference between 4 and negative 1. The absolute value of 4 minus a negative 1, or I could do negative 1 minus 4. And either way I get 5. So this is 5. I can find b, and that's the difference in my y coordinates, because that's the y. This is the x, that's the y. So I can do 9 minus a negative 3, or I can do negative 3 minus 9. And you get 12. So 5 squared plus 12 squared is equal to the c squared. So if I take the square root of your 5 squared plus 12 squared and take the square root, I will get that distance. And that's what I have. Did I write anything? No, I didn't write anything. Okay? So if I take 5 squared plus 12 squared, I will get the distance from A to B squared. Okay? So if you want to figure it out, it would be 25 plus 144 is 169, which is 13. Or some of you might have remembered that from geometry. One of the triangles that maybe your geometry teacher had you memorize, 5, 12, 13. And a definition, collinear, just to make sure you know what that means, it's a set of points that lie in the same line. So everything along this line, everything along that line, that's collinear, lies on the same line. Find a y such that the point y, or 2 comma y, is 13 units from -10 comma -3. So I know my distance is 13. So I know the distance between this point and that point is 13. So there's my 13. So 13 is equal to the difference in my x's. So I can either do 2 minus a -10 or -10 minus 2. It does not matter which way I do it. And I'm going to do it 2 minus a -10. That quantity squared. And then I'm going to do y minus a -3. Quantity squared. 2 minus a -10 squared is 2 plus 10, which would be 12 squared. That's what I have right there. Y minus a -3 is y plus 3, quantity squared. And so let's square that y plus 3. We will FOIL it and get y squared plus 6y plus 9. So 12 squared is 144. When you FOIL this, you'll get y squared plus 6y plus 9. So y plus 3 times y plus 3. Let's solve for y. You need to get rid of the square root sign. So I would square each side. And if you want, I combine the terms before I did that. Doesn't matter. You'll still get the same answer. Since I have a squared in there, to solve that, I will move everything to one side and I will factor it. So I'm going to move this 169 over to the other side. And now I'm going to factor that. And I know this factors into a y plus something and a y minus something, because two numbers multiplied together to get a negative, one has to be negative, one has to be positive. So I know that it has to be y plus and y minus, and it can either be a 1 and a 16 or a 2 and an 8, and it ends up to be y plus 8 times y minus 2, because there's my negative 16, 8y minus 2y, 6y. So y is negative 8, y is equal to 2. So I found my y. So y can either be negative 8 or negative 2. If it asks me to write the point is either 2, negative 8, or 2, 2. The point's 2y. So the point's 2, and there's my y. Find the point on the y-axis that is equidistant from the points 7, negative 4, and 8, 3. So we need to find a point that is equal distance. So that means the distance formulas are equal to each other. So the distance from your point on the y-axis, so you have some point on the y-axis, that to there is the same distance as that point to there. But if I use that, I can't solve the problem, because I plug in what I know and I have too many unknowns. But I do know something, that it's on the y-axis. Every point on the y-axis has something in common. And I hope you know that what it does have in common is my x-coordinate is 0. So you better know that it is the point 0, y. So now, if we use the distance formula, from this point to that point, and set it equal to the distance from that point to that point, we know they're equidistant. So now just use the distance formula. So you take the square root, and I'm going to do 0 minus 7, quantity squared, y minus a negative 4, quantity squared. That is equal to 0 minus 8, quantity squared, y minus 3 quantity squared. And then solve the problem. So I have a negative 7 quantity squared, y plus 4 quantity squared, negative 8 quantity squared, a y minus 3 quantity squared, negative 7 squared. You could square them first on the inside, or what I did is I took the square of each side to get rid of the square root. So when you do that, take negative 7 squared, you get 49. Y plus 4 quantity squared is y squared plus 8y plus 16. That's 64. Here you have y squared minus 6y plus 9. And then combine your like terms and let's see where you get, okay? And let me show you what I just did. Y squareds, if I subtract, they cancel out. I have 8y, write it again. I have 8y on the left, and I also have 49 plus 16, which is 49, 59, 65, right? So I have 49 plus 65. And then on the right side, I have negative 6y plus 73. I'm going to move that over by adding 6y, so that's how I get 14y. I'm going to move this over by subtracting 65 from 73, and that's where I get 8. Divide each side by 14, and you have y is equal to 8 over 14. Reduce that, you'll get 4 over 7. And so now it asks, find the point on the y-axis. The point on the y-axis would be 0, comma, 4 sevenths. Your homework in 2-1 started this evening. Finish it tomorrow in class.